Hey everybody, it's your friend Jason Pound here answering the top questions asked by homebuyers in today's real estate market. Question we're tackling today, can I buy a house without any money? The short answer, yep, you sure can. However, let me over explain. If you go onto YouTube and you type in wholesaling, creative financing, short sales, REO and properties, real estate investing, how to buy a house with no money, you're going to discover all sorts of tips and tricks of these strong, confident, dominant personalities that are out there making trillions of dollars using other people's money. If you want to go do that, this is not that. This is for people who want to own their own home. Whether you've never bought a house before or you've owned houses in the past, but currently you don't, and you want to get back into the game. How do I buy a house without any money? Let me share with you a very common scenario of a broke person who wants to buy a home. They have no down payment money. They have no closing cost money. They are handy and would like to buy a property that's a little bit damaged so they could get a discount and fix it up themselves and not have to pay as much. And they also don't have any earnest money saved. Let me walk through each of these hurdles and how to deal with them. First of all, the major assumption here is that this person has decent credit. Typically, once you pass 640, you're in the game. If you're up past 680, you're definitely in the game. The second assumption is that you have steady employment and steady income. With good credit and steady provable income with proper documentation, this puts you into the game. So no down payment money. How do we deal with that? Well, we have programs all over this planet called DPAs, down payment assistance programs. There are nonprofits that offer it. There are banks that offer it. There are lenders that offer it. There are county programs that offer it, state programs offered, federal programs offered, and even tribal programs offered by our local Indian tribes. There are millions of dollars available right now as we speak in down payment gifts and structured loans in such a way that you do not have to have the down payment. Number two, if you have no closing cost money saved up, it's important that you realize it costs money to buy a house. You have to have money for taxes, money for insurance, money for appraisals, money for inspections, money for title work, money for lender fees, money. The government wants money to file the deed. Everybody has their hand out and needs a piece of the pie because we're paying people for their time. So where's that money going to come from? Well, there's a loophole in these government-backed loans that offer down payment, that accept down payment assistance, that you are allowed for the seller to pay your closing costs for you up to a maximum of 6% of the sales price. But what you need to realize is that $6,000 per $100,000. So if it's a $300,000 house, that's $18,000. If it's a $400,000 house, that's $24,000. What if you owned a house that you were trying to sell right now? Are you willing to take $12,000 out of your bank account and give it to the buyer to help them buy your house? That's a very unique situation where someone's willing to do that. But this is the loophole that allows us to help people without money. The 6% concession paid by the seller. Now, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of people are handy and they want to find a house that they can buy at a discount. The problem is, if you're using a down payment assistance program or a government-backed loan, they're not going to allow you to do that. They only want to sell good condition houses that require no repairs to the folks who need down payment assistance. And think about it. If you can't save up the down payment and you can't save up the closing cost, you don't have what it takes to repair the house anyway. And it's going to go to pot. So they don't allow that. But this is the proper mindset for this magical transaction to work. If we can find a house that is damaged enough to qualify for a discount, but not damaged enough to disqualify it from down payment assistance, we can, rather than ask for the discount off the house, we can ask for them to pay the closing cost instead. And from the seller's perspective, it's the same amount of money. There's no difference. Now, when we say find a damaged property, realize there's more than one way for damage to happen to a house. Damage doesn't just have to be physical damage. It can be psychological damage. What if it's in a bad neighborhood? What if it's on a busy street? What if it is painted purple? There's all sorts of unique things that can damage the value of the house without disqualifying it from a government-backed loan down payment assistance program. So if we can find a house that's damaged enough, but not damaged too much, boom, we have our down payment through down payment assistance. We have our closing costs paid for by the seller. And because we're handy, we can take care of the damage ourselves once we get moved in. But there is no solution for no owner's money. It is tradition in Oklahoma that you provide 1% of the purchase price. So if it's a $100,000 house, you need to put down $1,000 on deposit, showing that you are a strong buyer and can close on the deal. If it's an $800,000 house, that's $8,000 you need to put down. And that is basically your penalty that if you back out of the contract in bad faith. Now, as your realtor, I'm going to make sure we have plenty of loopholes so we can get out of the contract if we inspect the house and we don't like what we find. But once we get through the inspection and we sign off on the house, if we try to back out then, we're going to lose that earnest money. That's why sellers are willing to go under contract with you. It's because you put up earnest money. Now, the tradition is 1%. Once they learn from your lender that, hey, we've got good credit and we're qualified for a loan and we have down payment assistance, and rather than ask you for a discount, we're just going to ask, or repairs, we're just going to ask you to put that towards our closing costs, and all is good, we can close. Would you be willing to accept $500 as earnest money? Would you be willing to accept $700 as earnest money? So sometimes we can negotiate on the earnest money, but at the end of the day, you have to have something in the bank. You have to have a friend willing to gift you some funds. You have to have a family member willing to gift you something. So yes, it's possible to buy a house without money. I recently helped a client. They used down payment assistance, they used seller concessions, and they walked away from the closing table with a $500 check. It's almost like we paid them to buy the house. But these situations are unique. These situations are rare. And when you find them, you're not going to be the only broke buyer competing for that house. So you must have patience. You must have endurance. You must have stamina. You must have drive. You must be able to stick to the plan. And sometimes it takes a while to find this situation that matches what you are looking for. And by the time we find it, if you've been sticking to your budget, guess what? You're not quite as broke anymore, and you've actually saved up enough for earnest money. And then if more time passes and we don't find the house yet, you've actually saved up some funds for closing costs. And now you may not need 6% in concessions. Maybe you will only need 4%. And now you have a more sexy offer to put down than the other broke person that's trying to buy the same house. So realize, a lot of times, if you don't have cash but you have credit, if you'll get with a good realtor, we can coach you and we can find these situations for you. My name's Jason Pound with Jericho Pound Realty Group. We service the entire Oklahoma City metro area. with hyperlocal expertise in South Oklahoma City, Moore, and Norman. If we can ever be of service, don't hesitate to call. We're here to serve. In the meantime, peace out. Have a great life.